Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Molybdenum Software Show. Okay. So you saw I solved that problem. We were basically allowing all warnings.
Yes.
Talk about a foot gun. So now we're not doing that anymore. You open.
Yeah. So if I remember, we were like a few distractions deep, right? We were trying to update dependencies on main, but then we still need to go and update dependencies on our branch, right? Because that's where we introduced POEM Open API.
Let's see the log. I think I might have completed that.
Okay,
Here,
great.
there's a bump inputs.
Wonderful. But is that our cargo dependencies as well?
No.
Okay. So I think we were at the point where we wanted to update our Rust dependencies.
But I think I may have, because I rebased this, so we don't know what's going on here. So I think I may have done that.
Okay. Then let's just do a mob start and update and confirm nothing happens.
Oh, sorry. Cargo update?
I don't remember what the command is, but that sounds plausible.
We don't want to do cargo updates. We want to do cargo update some versions, some packages, because we don't want
I'd rather just update
unrelated changes. We could update everything, but I wouldn't do that on this branch. Does that make sense? We could do that on main and then try to rebase.
Sorry, down the wrong pipe. Yeah. So that's what we were starting to do.
What
I thought.
Oh, we bumped. No, I don't. I think we did cargo updates, and then open poem, and poem. Open.
Okay. So yeah, I'm also fine with doing this.
This downgraded this error here.
Pretty strange.
That's all it did. That's all the command did. Downgraded a couple of packages.
Pretty strange. But I'm sure there's some reason for this to be expected.
Yeah. It's also, let's do cargo outdated, right? This takes a while. Oh boy. This is by project. Sure. Contact, detail, store, get config. This must be API. And here's poem, and it's not updates. All these poem things. Not
okay. So that must be the wrong command, right?
Yeah. Cargo help update. Update dependencies as recorded in the local log file. What does that mean? Command will update dependencies in the cargo log file to the latest version. If the cargo log file does not exist,
then a conservative update will be performed. Do you see that under spec?
Update only the specified packages. This flag may be specified multiple times.
The word conservative is what's making me anxious.
If packages are specified with spec, then a conservative update of the log file will be performed. This means that only the dependency specified by spec will be updated. Its transitive dependencies will be updated only if spec cannot be updated without updating the dependency.
Oh, okay.
All other dependencies will remain locked at their currently recorded versions. If spec is not specified, all dependencies are updated. So I think we want to tell it what to update it to, right? Not
I
only.
would love to not have to do that.
Well, maybe there's an additional flag for that. Display options, manifest options.
So if you run cargo update with no arguments, I know it'll update other things, but will it also update poem and poem API?
Probably. There.
Okay, cool.
Store. I think what we're looking for is like this, but we need to add asterisk. Just back. No, it's unexpected version requirement. Expected a version like. Ouch. Let's try Grok. How to tell cargo to update the lock version of dependency to any newer to the latest version, considering it is specified as foo. What's it look like? Equals star?
I don't remember.
In cargo DOM. This cargo update, but only foo. They're only foo and not other head.
So one way of doing this would be to add a greater than or equal to our cargo toml.
Star is that? Isn't star the same? Different.
The difference with star is it would allow things to get downgraded if needed. Like say we added some dependency on, I don't know, crate jfly, and crate jfly said I only work with poem 1.0. Then cargo would say, oh, I can satisfy everyone. I'll downgrade poem to version 1.0. But if we had a greater than or equal to 4 on poem, cargo would say, oh, I can't make everyone happy here. Or actually, I guess, sorry, I'm talking Python. In the Rust universe, you just get 2 versions of poem. Sorry.
Nexted.
Okay.
Grok said something strange. It said use the package flag. I don't.
Okay. Packages are like
that.
pieces of your workspace, is that right?
Yeah. That's what I understand.
Okay, so that's probably bogus, but we can give it a shot if you want. What branch are we on?
are on Open API, mob/Open API.
Okay.
Thank you for adjusting the resolution. That's helpful.
Yes. Okay. All right. So how do I see my current version of something? List?
Did you mob start?
Yes, I did.
Yes. Your current version in the cargo tree, and maybe tell it poem, cargo tree poem.
List installed commands? I don't even know what an installed command is.
The cargo outdated. Any command in the path that is cargo hyphen something. That sounds like an install command.
Okay. I was hoping to just see what we have, but I guess that's not gonna work.
But what are you looking for?
I just wanted to see this number, 3.1.7. That's all.
You looked at the help for cargo. You need to look at the help for cargo tree.
Cargo tree, okay. So I'd be looking for the word crate.
Target. No. I don't see an option here for that.
Okay, that's fine. I'm capable of reading a lock file. So 3.1.7. But if we do cargo update poem, oh, that did what we want.
Maybe because I provided two when I provided poem and poem open API, that didn't work.
Let's try. Yeah, that's very strange, huh?
Huh?
So if we specify poem open API, we get this bullshit. Is that the actual name of the package? Poem open API? Yeah, it is. Okay.
Maybe because it's conservative, it's refusing to try poem, update poem, and then update poem open API.
Okay. Oh, all right.
So there is some order to the madness.
It's like I do not have a mental model for what
I think I understand.
lockstep leapfrogging thing happened here. Like poem open API couldn't update if poem couldn't update.
Maybe it prevented you from having a duplicate.
Oh, trying to minimize the number of versions of poem or something.
Because you can't. It's not even trying to minimize. Like it's because it's conservative. Part of the definition of this operation is like, no, I'm not going to, just because you ask me to update doesn't mean I'm going to add, increase the number of dependencies that you have in the tree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or
yeah.
maybe it's because that particular dependency is declared dependency, not transitive.
Okay.
then it's not going to.
It does seem like if you specify both of them, it
Right.
should, because it's probably like the implementation is doing one at a time or something, which doesn't get you the same place. And maybe it did.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it sorts internally in some deterministic but problematic way because I said poem and then poem open API. So let's try this. Git restore PCO dot. So we're clean again. Let me just try flipping the order. We'll do
Wait.
this.
Oh, restore staged. Okay, I'm not familiar with that. Okay.
Git restore stage is just it's this one to get the green stuff. It's documented in Git status. So that didn't make a difference. But maybe what happens under the hood is this deterministically sorts into some order in some list in cargo. And then it says, I'm going to update this one, which doesn't do much of anything. And then update this one. But no, that still doesn't make sense because we know that updating poem does have an effect, right?
Yep.
So that doesn't. I don't see it.
Do
I
we
also
have
don't like
more?
super care because I'd rather just update everything and then update this. So like,
What more explicit poem packages do we have in Cargo Toml?
I don't know.
Should probably look
We
at
have a
all of
lot of
those.
cargo tomls.
The API. Source API Cargo Toml.
Wow, that is just hanging. That
Probably
took a
going
while.
into target.
Okay, I think it's just poem and poem on open API.
Right.
Okay, so I guess we've achieved our goals. I wouldn't say I totally grok cargo, but I can also move on from here if you want to move on.
Yes.
Okay. Mob next. Go for it.
And cargo test. The body is empty. See this?
Yeah, I can't tell what the body is equal to. Oh, okay. Got it. Okay. Yeah, so that's okay, right. So where we left things was we read the code and we thought that this operation here would do something different than it does, which means we're reading the code incorrectly.
Uh, I remember some developments since that is what was what we thought.
Okay. What do you remember?
How does the body of this error is it's a from status. This is private, by the way.
Okay.
It's supposed to be private, not really private. The struct is declared here. This is all based on some match. This match. This match. This arm.
I think so. And we've confirmed what self.toString is, I believe. Wouldn't
We
hurt to
can do that.
confirm again.
Do that here.
Pardon me.
We can't response, it's response, right? But
I think you're writing Nick's code there. Good.
response doesn't implement display.
I think it's error, right?
It's error. Error. And we don't have error here. So it's moved. So we need to do that.
Okay.
Right.
I'm not like 100% sure that error is the same thing as the this or the self in the other code.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or
So maybe we should confirm that these things are the same variable. Like is error on line 83 here actually the same thing that we're reading in that one match arm of the generated or of the library code? Cool.
How do we do that?
I don't know, code inspection or like debugging? Like I would add a print statement if it was Python code. Or a debugger. Or we can just read the code really carefully. But we've already read the code really carefully, so I'm more in a printf debugging kind of mood myself.
For that, we'd have to use the patch feature. But I kind of would be a little bit more inclined to take a look at the upstream project and see the tests.
Okay. Lead the way.
Loans. Where can we find phone? Right. Home web, and it's all here.
Yep.
Yes.
Monorepo. That doesn't tag its releases. Grr.
Web. It seems like we have a clone here. Let's do work tree add poem. Let's just do poem for now. Be a reference repo, reference work tree. Doesn't have a flag, does it? Next. Do we need to do that? Next shell. Next is cargo. Should rotate. Here. Should do I have changes here? Yes, I do. Oh. Next is
Okay, what do you want to look at in here?
tests. I'm pretty sure with poem itself is not a problem. This is poem API that we have a problem with.
Okay.
And it's the enum, hygiene, multipart, new type, object, operation parent, payload, query, request. I don't see anything about
Response.
an error.
Well, could these responses include errors? Maybe.
Maybe. Let's take a look at response first.
Okay.
Look for error. There is an into response test here. Bad request. Bad request result.
Yeah, I don't totally understand this code, but it does not look like the same thing we're trying to do to me.
Well, I don't look at 114. There's take body, so there's something about body here. Why should this have a assert eq what exactly? Resp from slice response clone.
Okay.
This is the body, but this has a JSON body.
Yeah, so they assert once on the JSON, where they write the JSON by hand, and then when asserting on the YAML, instead of writing the YAML by hand, they like do something different. It's like checking
What
that
about
it's
123?
so yeah, I mean that looks like a very explicitly built response, which I'm sure works. It's what we're having trouble with is we're
Derived.
not building the response ourselves, and we don't think we should
I think
have
it's a
to.
different crate. It's a Poem Open API derived.
Oh, really?
If it derives
Well,
it wrong.
okay.
Well, for general Rust education, derive macros need to be outside the crate in which they're used.
Okay.
So
We're
that's
using
why.
them. So it's definitely not in our crate.
That's why there is an Poem Open API derived crate. It's not part of a Poem Open API.
Oh, you think Poem Open API uses macros from here? I thought we use macros from here.
Yeah, maybe it doesn't use macros from there. Or maybe that's how testing works. Are there tests here?
No tests here.
Where
Or
are
at
the
least it
tests
doesn't
then?
look like there are tests here.
Are the tests there any derived? Maybe that's how it uses. Maybe
Maybe.
that's how it uses the tests.
Sure.
Can you find tests for Poem API derived in Poem API? Open API?
What would you look for?
The word derive.
Sure. Tests.
What's the name of the? Maybe it's in documentation. Somewhat unlikely. I think we saw documentation. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe there are no tests for this, and it's not working
Maybe.
exactly how we want it to work.
I mean, we haven't been able to find an example of this. Like, we have every reason to believe it's possible, but all the example code we've looked at doesn't quite do this thing. But it's also like such a reasonable thing to want to do that, like, if it's not possible, it's because of a bug.
Well, I saw someone in the issue tracker saying, "Hey, how do I do this?" Never mind, I worked around by doing it the non-derived way,
I see.
manually. The builder pattern, the errors.
I mean, we've read enough of the code to believe that this should work. And like, we've got some sample code written that just isn't behaving the way we think it would, given how we've read the code. So I feel like we're like terribly close to answering that question. And then like, maybe we'll identify a bug when we do that, or maybe we'll like figure out that we're just holding it wrong. And we were very close, hopefully very close to holding it right.
That's why I want to see a test.
Sure, yeah. I mean, if we could find an example of this, that would be great in a test or whatever. I'll rotate over to you. I have no changes.
Alright. Arrive. There's poem derived and poem open API derived. Which are we using? Neither have tests. Neither have tests. Let me see the reasonable file manager here.
Mhm.
What does have tests?
We saw tests in Poem Open API.
Source test. Yeah. Poem. And what is the derive that we're using? This is our code. Granted error. And we're deriving API response. This is our poem open API derived. API response. Yes. What's this? This is the derived. This is where the, and we might have looked at this.
I might have looked at the generated code. I'm not sure if we've looked at the macro implementation.
This is the macro implementation. And these are tests, right? So here we look, we are deriving in response, API response to this response.
Okay.
And it's an enum, so that's quite similar, isn't it?
I agree.
And all the rest of the results are in this. Not all, but let's take a look here.
I agree.
Also, I want Rust Analyzer, if you excuse me. Mix shell, mix packages. cargo packages analyzer. Oh, there it is. And now I should. This is. Here, Rust Analyzer is trying. It's trying. Here's a derive. This seems like an enum that is used throughout multiple tests, and this is using. It's not. It's not. This is not an error. It does not implement error via this error, and it's instead it's using these.
Okay.
Right.
Yep.
And we played with that.
Yes.
So one usage of this is here. That's just an assert eq of the whatever meta. What is meta? Metastatic method on.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense,
Oh,
right? Like
it is the
normally,
metadata.
all you need to be
Okay.
able to do with a structured response is serialize it to HTTP, but this might be a sort of structured way to get all the values back.
Yeah, this is how the spec's generated. This is the static method that is generated on top of this
Oh, sure.
struct.
Makes sense. Sure.
And this is generated by the derive notation. And this it's interesting to see because what would be the body? It's not here, is it? Or is it like just okay on the okay? It's not here.
Description.
So as far as the spec is concerned, that body is not in it. Make sense?
So what's this description?
This has. Well, I guess that's it though, right? It's not listed as body, but it is.
Right.
It does get picked up as description. Okay, and this is empty because last one here doesn't have that. Okay. Well, let's see where it's used. Where more of these are used. So here is into response. Well, we instantiate an OK variant. We make it into a response, and then the status trivial, but that's it. Now we instantiate another one, but it's not the same. So let's. There are this JSON response. We don't touch the body. We don't look at the body. What about this?
Take body into string A B C D E F.
That's it. That's that. I'm not sure what default is. Default. It's response. My response has a. Where is that? Is that?
It's the last one. It's the last variant.
Oh, it's the last variant. Okay, but look, that's from here. That's.
Yep, that's interesting.
It's dynamic. It's dynamic, and that's it. You don't get to see this again.
Yeah, How does that plain text turn into a body?
I think it's something to do with this derive. If the variant is a tuple variant that has one, something to do with like idioms here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there.
Okay, where are we?
I think we saw that this is a missing feature. That's what I'm seeing. It's not tested means it's no such feature.
Wait, we just read a test of somebody populating a body.
Yes, but this is different from what we're trying to do. This is populating it at runtime.
Yeah, that's totally fine. I mean, I think that's good, so we can get better error messages, right? We can say like PR number whatever not found, as opposed to just abstractly saying PR not found.
Possibly.
Like I would rather do it at runtime, even if the values aren't dynamic now. I would rather know
Mm-hmm.
how to do it dynamically.
I'm okay with that. Sure. So that's yeah. We'd have to take a look at how to do that.
So,
Um,
like this idiom about if your enum is a tuple with two thingies, and this one's not using the hashtag OAI, it's doing something different.
just a moment.
Mm-hmm.
Figure something out here. No, I cannot use the. You can turn off the camera while you're coding, but you can't switch the camera. So I need to turn off the camera, and I cannot switch the camera. What? I have to stop recording in order to see. Aw, it's a missing feature. Whatever. It's good enough. Okay, sorry.
No worries. Okay. So this is our code on the left.
First thing I'll try to observe is whether we need this to be an error. Maybe we can remove the derive of this error there.
Okay. How do you want to do that?
Remove it from the derive after debug.
Okay. It's gone.
Does anything break?
Don't know. Editor's checking along, but I can cargo
Jog.
test.
Move along. Jog. Jog. I'll turn my camera off to give my wife some privacy here.
Sure thing. Okay. So I guess we're hoping to see one failing test and only one failing test with this change, because we already had one failing test. Okay, there we go. It does not compile
You could have seen that in
because,
the editor.
well, it's getting there maybe. Still chugging.
Oh, wow.
So cannot
Because of the
find,
updates.
yeah, maybe. There we go. Finally got there. Cannot find attribute error in the scope. Okay, so that's because we removed this error. Makes sense.
Yeah, comment out those.
Okay, and then it wants this toString. And I guess we were getting a toString before from this. Now we don't have one. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. So what do I do? Like impl display?
Well,
Or
that was kind of my question. Where are we using this toString?
seems like API response requires it.
Really?
I mean, that's how I'm
Show
reading
us the
this.
tests, please.
There we go.
No, there's no such. Can you find an implementation of display here?
That's the only one I see. Which is interesting. I've never seen code inside of functions. You can do this in Rust?
Yep.
Neat. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how this thing's getting a toString.
Show me the error again, please. The error is not. It's not clear to me that that's the location of the error. Try to see the actual location of the error.
Tell me what you're looking for.
That
Okay.
that there.
So there's, and then what is this saying?
I'm not. It
Oh, is
looks
this
like.
basically it's saying like, hey, there's no toString here. Let me see. Maybe it was coming from here, and that's why this is coming. Okay.
Uh, no, I think it's straight from the derive macro. Rotate?
Okay. Undo that last change. I'm next. Go for it.
No? Why don't start again? No. Still have this here.
Yeah. Just to go ahead and delete it. I didn't do a mob start, so then my mob next failed, and it'll be easier for me to remove it.
Oh, okay. All right. This seems to be standing on its own. As if this is a requirement. Well, we have display true. That's why.
Okay.
Let's remove
Sounds reasonable.
which we might not need. Okay.
Yep.
So now we have the other error where we do this. Okay. Don't delete this. No, that doesn't exist.
I mean, I think all of this code, this whole block of code is not going to make sense.
I'm just not sure where exactly.
Yeah, I think it's that paragraph. Not that.
This.
Yeah, I think it's just this paragraph.
Oh, kind of. Yeah. Okay. 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 So that we don't. You need an implementation of error for landed error.
Okay. Sure. But we do need to get a body in there. So
Yes.
how do we do it?
Um. We've got PI. I think we should be able to find that derived macro PI response. The status can be static, and that's what we're doing, right? We're static status for each of these variants. But the body, there's nothing here about the body, right?
Okay with body looks interesting. If you scroll up a little, like that one's got a hard-coded status and then like a plain text, presumably for this body.
Huh. Yeah.
I just don't understand, like, part of the problem is I just don't have enough experience with like macros or what's even possible. Like,
it's
what's
just
the glue
reading the
here?
code.
Is it like looking for any tuple that just happens to have a plain text string in it somewhere?
That's what it would be.
What if you have multiple plain text strings?
Well, it doesn't, what it would error. Say, no, we could try, right? Like, so plain text. And the thing is, it won't even be like, you can't do whatever you want here. You can't do.
Plain text is specifically about payloads. Okay, sorry. My brain was reading that as just like some string thing in Rust, but that's specifically about HTTP payloads. So I guess that convention actually sounds reasonable. You wouldn't expect multiple payloads, right?
Plain text of string. So now when we instantiate this,
we should be forced to specify a body.
Here's one. Probably the only one.
Great.
Yeah, but this is not. Well, here we do have the value, right?
Yep. Yeah, this feels great because this would be an opportunity to like say, hey, this specific PR you requested, here's the number, does not exist.
Oh, well, this does. I take it back. Like this does not carry.
Oh, that doesn't have any data. Okay, well, we could change it to carry the data, but yeah. I'm saying all I'm trying to say is doing this at runtime smells very reasonable to me. So I'm not bothered by this at all.
So here's our string.
Mm-hmm. Love it. Arguments are incorrect. It needs to be a payload or something?
No, it needs to be string from. Like,
But it's supposed to be like a plain text
plain
payload, right?
text, right? Yeah, plain text. Uh, plain text. From probably maybe from. Can probably do this. No, it cannot. Needs to be plain text. Cancel that for a moment. Plain text. Oops. Have unnecessary parentheses. Well, that's Rust for you. Next bit. Good job.
Oh no. Uh-oh. I'm using some deprecated stuff. That's too bad. All right. Ah, our test's passing. First time in a long time. Nice.
Nice. So that means that the other error bodies we never tested.
Yeah. Let me just clean up unnecessary code. We don't need any of this, right? We've been
I
able to
don't
embed
suppose
the
we do.
statuses in, and then the responses we're doing right up above. So that's great. Okay, wonderful. And then, okay. Oh, cool. So now we're getting warnings. That's interesting. I guess we were eventually. Why is this not a problem on main?
Maybe because we allowed warnings.
On main?
We no longer do.
I thought we were just changing. Okay. So then why did the PR to deny warnings? How did that succeed?
The PR to deny warnings.
Or is that living on this branch?
We deny warnings in like in general, but then only when we build the shell we add warnings.
Okay. So my question is, does this code exist in main? And how did it make it to main?
I don't think it exists. Just delete it. I think we are aren't we using a closure for this now? What's going on?
Aren't we using a closure?
How are we doing this redirect? No, at the moment.
It's right here, isn't it? The code on our screen?
Well, this is it's the async is unused.
Yeah.
It says consider removing the async.
Right. And so what I'm confused about is this code not already in main?
No.
Did we add this in this branch?
Yes.
Okay. Got it. All right. Never mind then. All good. Okay.
Sorry.
Adding other statements after. No, adding items after statements is confusing. since items exist from the start of the scope. What's an item?
Const is an item.
Const is an item.
Like a function, yeah, because it's constant. It's not like it won't be evaluated at runtime at that position.
Okay. All right. So they want us to move this to the top of the function or what?
Yep.
Okay. It feels very
Which we can probably do that for you.
old school C, but sure. All right. Dead field here. DB is never read. Hmm. Would we really have introduced this here? I find that hard to believe.
For this one, I would actually switch to main and take a look. What happens when you open this file?
Good pull. Okay. Here we go.
No, Clipper didn't find it, so
Yeah. So I don't
if
think it
Rust
happens on
Analyzer
main.
finds it, it's a Rust Analyzer problem.
Okay. Nope. We're all good here. No errors or warnings.
Okay, switch back then. Unlikely to. Well, try removing it in our branch in mobile pin.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Here we are.
unused.
Well, it might be.
So
It's definitely written to, and that's reasonable, right? Because like we need to hold on to this DB context.
well, if it's
Maybe
never
not.
read, then remove it and remove the writing to it.
I was thinking maybe it was
And
an
there you
ownership
go.
thing.
Oh, you changed your mind. We are
Well,
reading from it. It's a method.
it makes sense to me, right? Like this is something that gets handed off to something that then
The
like
only method.
runs outside of. I don't really understand ownership in general, and especially in an async context. But it seems reasonable to me that this like gets passed off to somewhere and then runs later. And for this thing to survive, it needs to actually like live outside of this block here.
I don't think this set. This is about. This is not about. It's not about ownership. This is whether it is ever read.
Yes. No, I understand that this is about whether or not it's read. What I was saying was just commenting out these two lines of code. I can understand that that would cause other problems. Because to me, it seems like stashing this in this test context and then feeding it to this function is important to keep this DB context alive.
Okay.
Even if it's
Okay.
not read, just an ownership thing.
Well, look. One thing I noticed is that the only methods that ever read this field are derived. Line 5 and 7.
Mm-hmm.
So this seems like Do, do you understand? It seems like a Rust analyzer problem that it does not consider those derived methods as usages of
Okay,
that field.
got it. Yeah, but then why does it work on main?
I don't know. It's different enough on main for some reason.
Okay. So if I just want to, without breaking ownership, but hide the accessor,
Hide.
I could just do underscore underscore, right? And then that should lead me to the places that actually read this. There
Sure.
we go. Okay. So like, here's a line of code,
But
another
they
line of
don't
code.
read. They don't read this, right? They call the getter.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And if I like expand this macro, what, Rust LSP expand macro, that doesn't do anything.
On the derive.
Okay. So like this right here is a read.
Not. Is this it? What am I looking at? Why is it? Yep. Yep. Just narrow. That's the get, and the other one's the get mute, right?
The other one.
Client.
Oh, sure. Yeah. The other thingy here. Yep. There's the
Yep.
DB mute. Yep. So, okay. Makes sense. I agree. This does smell like it's definitely used. Why it works on, why it doesn't complain on main is an interesting mystery.
Yes.
I don't know. Something about these tests change. We didn't introduce this macro in this PR, did we? This branch? No, we did not. Okay, well, I don't know. I mean, do you want to like burn down the
It's just
differences?
no. It it's just in the editor. It's a Rust analyzer problem. It's not blocking us. Just annoying us.
Oh, I see. No, it's more than the editor.
Oh boy. What?
Like I think Nick's flake check is broken. I'm not going to take the time to find out because that will burn a lot of CPU and take a while, but
Huh.
I'm pretty sure.
Huh. 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 Well, if none of these methods are ever used, then they don't. It's recursive. You understand?
Yes, and so I was trying to see if they were used, and I was able to prove that, right? By changing this to
Yes, you
underscore.
changed the name and
And then it says, hey, this doesn't exist, but this does. And this doesn't exist, but this does.
just a moment, Jeremy.
Sure thing.
Yes, sorry, I'm back.
Okay, you don't have to wait for one solve.
Solve it. Solve it. Solve it. Too
There.
long, Jeremy. Too long.
Yep, not my best.
I have no idea what to do.
All right. Yeah, so something mysterious happened. Maybe we
Let me
could,
see if I get the same thing.
sure.
Did we see that already?
I have no changes to
No
rotate
changes.
over to you, so
Take
feel
over
free to
the
mob start.
screen.
And I'll just rotate because I'm at time anyways.
Starting now. Cargo. Pepe. All targets. Warning. Never read. Not quite true, is it? That's in test detail. Dead code. Never read. Never ever read.
It is definitely red.
Read, because if I comment it out, this is written too.
Yeah, that doesn't. You can't get to seeing the points where it's red if you do that. But if you rename it, you can get to the points where it's red.
Okay, name. Right. No method. No method. Now this is in a different crate, right?
If you say so. I don't have all the crates in my head.
It's not even in a different crate. This is crates API test util, and this is crates API tests.
Okay. So they're both in the API crate?
Oh, I know what's going on. I understand this. I think I saw this before as well.
Okay.
So check this out. I will go and undo this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This file creates API test util RS. If we go to test API, creates API test, and go to some test, we can see that each such test declares this module.
Okay.
See this module?
Yes.
And it has a path.
Okay.
That means that this piece of code is not on its own a module. It's just code. It's a file with code in it. And there are 3 modules that are created from the code in this file. One here. Oh, this.
Okay. Yeah, I think you've explained this to me before. So we think we added a new use of it in this branch, but didn't actually use that .db accessor.
Yeah, supposedly in this one. So here db mute is used and here db is used.
Mm-hmm.
So that field is used. But here it is not.
Okay. And we added this? Oh, the test homepage redirect. Sure. Yeah, and the get of openapi.json. Makes sense. Yes, this is all new and in this branch.
And I think that this is the correct so far, except for this unused problem. This is the correct this is the idiomatic pattern for creating such test utilities, such test utility modules.
Okay.
But obviously, this is the first problem you'd run into
Sure.
when doing
Yeah.
this.
A generally useful test utility that not all its features are used everywhere.
Right.
Makes sense.
Done. And when checking the API tests Open API. This module is on this field is unused. So if we want to cover all usages, we'd have to say allow unused on this field, which is a strange thing to do because
it is used, at least in some places.
That's one thing, and the other thing is that that's true for anything in this
Right.
module.
Yeah, the second we add something else that uses only a piece of this, we might have to go add that again.
So we could play with features here. It's kind of a overkill. Ideally, Cargo would understand this. Like, Cargo would understand that it's used because it's used in one usage, and that's it. That's enough.
Yeah.
Let's see what Grok says. I do this sort of thing in several Rust integration tests. And remove the macro use because it's irrelevant. Problem is that some items in that file end up used in some test modules and unused in others. And type checking complains about that. What's the complaint? Dead code.
Yeah, unread parameter or attribute or something. Dead code.
Dead code. Is this even idiomatic pattern for test utility modules? Workable but not particularly idiomatic pattern in Rust. It can lead to issues like dead code. And there are more idiomatic ways to organize and share test utilities in Rust. Below, explain why your current approach has issues, whether it's idiomatic and just better determine why your current approach pattern causes dead code. Well, I know that dead code warnings arise because Rust type checker and are designed to ensure code hygiene. No, it's not idiomatic. Use of path. The path attribute is a low-level mega overriding Rust modular solution. It's rarely needed in practice and can make the code base harder to navigate. What's the alternative? Imperative module inclusion. Including the same test utility module in multiple test files manually is error-prone and violates the DRY. Dead code issues lack of encapsulation directly, including a utility module in each test file can make it harder to manage dependencies and control visibility
I'm not following most of that.
functions.
I'm not following most of those points. Like the dry thing? I mean, isn't exactly what we're doing drying this up by creating a test utility rather than repeating it over and over again?
Yeah, these tools, you have to read all of this with a grain of salt. Rust's idiomatic approach to test utilities emphasizes modularity, reusability, and leveraging. I'm kind of looking for the alternative to assess whether this has any merit.
Mm-hmm.
Idiomatic alternatives. Here are several idiomatic ways to run about GitHub. Place test utilities in dedicated test module. Yeah, that's what we're doing. Instead of using path organizer, test is a module within the test directory and include it where needed. But within the test, it ends up as a test itself. You think this would be any different? Common as standard rest. We could just try this, not believe a word this is saying. If you still get dead code warnings in common RS because some materials are used in certain test files, you can suppress it with dead code. Or suppress warnings for the entire module. Use a test-only crate module. If your test utilities are closely tied to your crate's functionality, you can define them in a test-only module within your main crate. No, because then we'd be exporting stuff publicly, not only to tests. Which is not what we want. We could extract test utilities in a separate crate. That would solve the problem. But you know that the way that it would solve the problem is that stuff that is public in a crate, it simply does not go through.
Right, it doesn't get dead code checked.
Yeah,
because like if you're creating a library for the internet to use,
it's not
you can't
checkable.
check to see if some closed source project is using your utility function.
So this didn't help. This didn't help.
Okay. Well, very confidently told us we were doing something non-idiomatic. Classic AI.
Next is.
Okay. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, you've got
We have
a lot
to
more rust under your belt than me. Tell me what you want to do.
But I think that's kind of it had a point there where yes, this is getting used in multiple places, and currently the compiler simply lacks the ability to properly check dead code in this scenario because it does so for each usage individually and not for all of them combined. Therefore, we cannot use that check, cannot use that rule reliably.
Okay.
It's only a matter of which granularity we allow dead code now.
Mm-hmm.
Is it the field, or is it the entire module?
Dang. Where did we write this macro? Right here.
Okay. I don't see the timer going.
Good idea. So, I mean, one could, if you wanted, one could take the argument that, like, hey, actually, this is correctly telling us, why is this not getting any color? Okay. These tests here are inefficient because they are starting up a database unnecessarily. So, like, there's a version of this where we actually take the advice and say, hey,
it is unnecessarily?
Well, don't you think? Like, what good is a database for any of these API calls?
JSON does not need it. Homepage redirect does not need it. And API docs does not need it. I guess you're right.
So, like, there's a version of this where we actually maybe, I think you were starting to say that, maybe something with features or, I don't know, like, There's some way for us to actually
Well,
have a
with
test
features, you just features would be a way to omit those items, and then you'd have to like be clever about how you deal with that.
Yeah, the way we implement this would be tricky. But there's like a version of this, like a DB-less test context. Like you could imagine like DB test utils and no DB test utils could get created. And then tests that don't need access to the database could get us, an insignificant performance improvement by using the DB-less test utils.
Not insignificant. Starting the database is probably the most expensive thing that happens in these tests.
Sure. But I mean,
We don't care about that, I suppose.
yeah, significant, like it may be 90% of the time, but it's still, the overall time is not significant. But yeah, you can see. I mean, also adds a lot of spew to the test output. All this stuff,
All the
right?
migration.
Yeah.
Okay. But also it's not only our app, our API is not designed at the moment to work with our database as well either.
Is that true?
How would it? What it does it? Is it like lazy about it? What is it? Doesn't the migration happen in the app itself?
Oh, yeah, we do the migration at startup, I believe. That's right. Yeah. That's like,
It's
I've
inherent
ranted
to the
about
app.
this a
Like
bunch, so I don't need to rant about it again, but like that's,
what?
you know, that's a weird thing to do, right? Like if we were going to
I don't
spin up
buy it.
multiple. Sorry?
I'm not convinced that it's weird to do that. Oh, you had the
It's
if you
super weird to
spin
do.
multiple.
Your API server ideally doesn't even have credentials to do DDL to your database. And you ideally are running a whole bunch of API servers, and they shouldn't all be checking and potentially migrating the database in parallel. Like even if you write it in a way that like you do some lock to check, it's just like migrating the database should be a completely separate orthogonal thing to your API servers. But for like tiny little standalone thingies that have state that like are designed to be friendly to self-hosting, putting it in the API server is like a very reasonable decision. But like in an ideal universe where you're running like a web service that you want up all the time, you need to think carefully about like, when do I migrate? What's my forwards and backwards compatibility story between like, because I've got, some version of the API running on like, I've got 100 API servers running. I can't atomically update them, so they're going to be running the old version of the code and the new version of the code. Plus, I'm like doing a migration, so I'm going to have like an old version of the database and a new version of the database. It's like an annoying problem when you care about like high availability. None of which we care about. So I'm sorry for bringing it up and rambling about it for the like 15th time.
It's okay. It made me think.
But this is the sort of stuff we, cared about at my last job because we wanted our thing running all the time. And we didn't want migrations to, break things, and we wanted to be able to roll back if we like ran migrations and then we said, oh shit, there was a bug in the code. Now we got to roll back, but now you're in a scenario where you have migrated the database, but you're now running with the old code. So it's like all these weird things you have to think about.
I think features can help us here because those get and get mute, those getters, they're not used internally by the test util. They're entirely outward facing.
Mhm.
So if we place that attribute behind a feature flag and not the field, then
I don't know what the difference between a field and an attribute is.
the attribute is what's above the field.
Oh, this thing?
Yeah, yes.
You're
But
saying we could hide the getters and the setters?
sorry, that's not enough. It says that DB is never used. How is a DB ever used? Can you explain that? Is it
Like, what do we do with the DB in other tests?
how come the DB is not? Yeah, what do we do? I don't understand. The DB seems necessary. It's like a side effect, right? Like it's otherwise it's a side effect, right? If we don't do
So I believe all our API tests, we like insert stuff into the database, then we make API calls to like query for landings. We only
Rust
have one
language
API.
doesn't understand that this is important. There's a loop going on. There's a relationship that is not acknowledged by the Rust language, the Rust compiler. This database context is it represents a process, and therefore it's necessary anyway. And therefore we can safely allow dead code for that field because it's simply always necessary semantically.
Yes, that is fair. Yeah. Okay, so let's allow dead. Do we have an example of that?
You have a quick fix for that.
Oh, look at that. Do. I don't see it.
Maybe you're not on the air. I'm not sure. Or maybe you don't have a quick fix.
Okay.
But it but maybe the error in the there you go.
Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. Works for me. I could add a comment or just leave it. What do you think?
Comment would be nice. In any case, we should rotate.
Okay. Mob next. Go for it.
Maybe here. Is this even? This is obviously not allowed. Whether it might be longer than it. Whether even this field, the how do you say the life of this value represents a running.
Sure. Represents a running
Value
database.
represents a running database. Even if
Even if the field is not referenced or used.
we can, yeah, even if That should explain it.
Works for me.
Cool.
Okay, I think we did it. I think we got passing tests and lints, and now we just got to take a look at full diff. Maybe test
I
the
think the
thing
first
out.
thing I'll do is I'll go to landed error and try to restore these. There are no tests for them.
Bummer. Yeah.
Are there? Now this makes me want to write tests for them because now we're kind of re-implementing.
Mm-hmm.
So where do you think this belongs?
I mean, wherever we
API
have tests of
test.
the other one.
This
Gonna be some API test.
here. Health check, PR not found, PR.
Yeah.
Let's see. This is so PR number non-positive. I don't see non-positive, positive, non. No, we don't have a test for this. So let's do that. Just another one of these. Going to be rather simple. PR not found. This is simple. Maybe even before that PR number non-positive. That seem all right?
Yeah. I mean, we could be a little more concrete. We could say negative PR number. Like, that's what we're testing.
Sure. Negative PR.
Cool.
Okay, that's a negative number. Response, search status. What's the status here? 400, which
400.
is
It's like bad request or something.
I got no completion. I got nothing.
Oh, is that because we're in a macro?
There's something wrong with our this is fun. Because it's inside a macro.
Yeah.
That's not cool.
Vaguely remember this from when we added the macro.
Well, let's do it outside. Status code. No. FN to status code bad request.
Well, I don't know if that's actually a 400. I was thinking if you wrote that code, you could like go to definition on it.
Okay. Bad request. That's bad request. And here's our text that we've not been testing, right? It's supposed to be this. So remove it from here. And let's see it fail. And what's this? This would be harder to.
Yeah, we're gonna have to like kill the database.
I
think we have a test helper for that. I think that's how we verify that you can see the service unavailable test right above us.
Negative. Let's try this test first. Yes, that's how I would expect it to fail, right?
Looks good.
So implementation of that is plain text string. See, what I wanted to like show you is that we've been using. No, never mind. And I think, if you do this, payload, if you do anything other than this, it probably won't work.
Oh,
Because
bummer.
it's
That's the level that these macros operate at.
yeah. Next it.
Bummer. What is this? There we go. Oogie. Okay, this is the magic string from our test. Where'd it go?
Are you currently hearing keyboard clicks?
I think so. I'm hearing some clicks.
Okay, I fixed that. I'll change mic. I cannot switch mics while recording.
Annoying.
I'll just have to stop recording and change. How terrible is it for you to hear these clicks?
It's fine.
All right.
How terrible is it for you?
No. Oh. That's cool.
Okay.
Both playing Hogwarts Legacy.
Oh. I think I've heard of that one. Okay. Go. Don't know what all these non-existent syntax errors are about. Okay. And then we want to get the 500 as well. So let's do that. So I think we can do something like this one. If we kill the DB. So this will be like dead.
500 is internal error, right? What is it?
And then this will be /API/v1/ this should be a service unavailable. Well, I'll just do it. Why am I adding it to?
No, let it fail. Oh. Oh, you put the body in? Okay, yeah. Body in.
There we
Let's
go.
see that it fails. It succeeds for the first assertion.
Hopefully, assuming the test does what we want it to. Pool timed out while waiting for
Nice.
an open connection. Interesting. So I
Wow.
think we're getting an error earlier on, a different type of 500.
It's
Because we
not a
wrote,
landed error. It's like
yeah,
would be difficult to we'd have to do some different sabotage.
I think we'd have to manipulate the schema of the database. That would be one way to do this. We like dropped a column.
think we can do whatever we want, right? That's what we have getDB for,
Yep.
or get db mute.
Yeah, I just don't remember how to like actually get a connection, and this is going to be extra painful because we don't have a working IDE right now.
Well, you can call a function here, pass.
Okay, so like
You don't even
all
need to
right,
call it. You can
borg
receive.
fn borg db like that, and I'll say borg db.
You don't even need to call it, right?
Okay.
I mean, you could if you wanted
I
to
just
see that
don't
it
know what
works.
type to put.
Yeah.
So maybe let's start with that. CTX, and can I get this thing to tell me what this needs to be?
Well, you get.
Oh, that won't do it.
Not
What if I just say
use
string?
unit.
Okay, like
That's
that.
the.
Then I can get it to tell me what this needs to be.
Even in the editor.
Okay. Expected mute. That's the one, right?
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay. Still not there. Mute. Oh, whoops. I'm passing the. Guess let's do that. I'll give it the context.
No.
Oh,
Oh,
no. I see database context versus test context.
that was correct. Yes. And then you have the database context inside to do with as you please. You have a mutable reference to.
There we go. Okay. CTX dot connection dot execute. What is this? Dot await. Async. Dot await. Sure. Okay. Sure dot execute. Nope. This one. Oh, dot unwrap maybe. Okay. I'll rotate over to you. I definitely
Here.
mob nexted this time.
Hmm.
Oh, there it is. Okay. So
I didn't
how
see
do we
many useful
execute
things.
some SQL against this thing? So we have a connection. There's got to be some way to run some raw SQL, right? PG connection. Pretty sure we're going to want a connection. That seems like a good starting point.
Let's find instances of this in the code. Find references to that. Connection. Upsearch takes a connection. You want to see what we do at upsearch?
Connection. Unwait. Oh, wait. Unwrap. That looked. SQL X query. Oh, and then we give it a connection. Okay. It's a little different. Oh, no. We
What do
build a
you
query and then we call execute. Okay.
What do you want to? I don't want. I don't know what the query would be.
I don't know. Drop column. I don't remember the syntax for dropping a column from a drop column from table name or something. Drop column foo from.
This is what I wanna.
Yep, that's fine. Alter table. Great. Wonderful. That sounds very plausible. And then I don't remember our schema at all. Is it like we have a table called landings, maybe?
I don't see execute here. Is it something I'm doing wrong? It's already.
I don't think this is going to
What
work
do you-
until we like generate the queries metadata.
I can buy that. Okay. Alter table. What, like this?
Yeah, just something that gets used in the landings. We could drop number or something.
I don't quite see. How do I figure out what columns I have? Migrations?
I mean, there you can see two column names in that query. PR number
Number?
and commit.
Number, commit. Let's go for commit.
Sure.
And this should result in some SQL errors, right?
Yeah, I don't see a semicolon up above, so maybe don't put one here.
Oh.
Cool. And then, I don't know. When you run dir end reload, there's a command that gets printed. I can't remember what the command is. Yep, SQL X for pair. Okay. And get status, do we see? No, nothing happened. Damn. That's us. Maybe our query isn't smart enough to look at all the right crates or like the test. Like this might be the first time we've written a query in a test file.
I can go look at SQLX pair. It's the store crate path. Current
Okay,
dir.
got it. So I suppose we could add like a public fuck the database method to the store crate, but I don't know. Is there some way of just executing the query without the type checking? And like it doesn't.
There's query raw.
Maybe could we just do that? Like I don't really feel
Query
like there's any value here.
raw SQL.
This will not create or cache any prepared statements. Sure. Oh yeah.
It's a function. Not a macro.
Okay. Sounds great. Love it. Love it. This is exciting. What's happening here? Why can't it be borrowed as mutable?
Because it's
What
not
was the very? Oh, let
declared
mute.
immutable.
Okay. Cool. And then we got to await that execute, and maybe we're in business.
We're always in some sort of business. Next it.
Oh boy. All right. Dot await. Okay. Now what?
What you got there?
Don't know. Implementation of SQL executor is not general enough. SQL executor would have to be implemented for blah, but it's actually implemented for blah. This one's above my pay grade.
Specific lifetime. Don't pass it as a reference. What are we?
Are we passing it as a reference?
What's the? We are passing a reference. Wait, no, that's not. We only have a reference because dbmute gives us a reference.
Okay.
So that's what we have to work with. Now, I think because this is, I think it happens only because this is async.
Will this go away if I inline the implementation of the function?
Probably.
Okay. I'm still down to learn a Rust thing. If there's a Rust thing to learn here.
Yes, there is. Probably take me a while to figure it out.
Well, what would you like to do? Should I just inline it and we try to move on?
I'd like to ponder on this.
Okay.
Would that be okay?
Totally fine. I'm here to learn Rust. That is my number one goal. Although, yeah. So what do we got? Something about lifetimes, right?
First is that you can first thing is that you can notice that because it's a macro invocation, we don't get a location for this. The location of this is the entire macro invocation. That's where the error is.
Okay.
But if otherwise, it's really that passing of that argument to borkdb, because that's what that type is. It's a ref mute, and that because that's what we get from dbmute.
Okay. That sounds plausible.
No. So there's a reference to, like, we get something and we don't keep it. Has the lifetime of CTX, I suppose.
Okay.
Because it's borrowed from there. And CTX remains alive until the end of the scope. And that it would usually be fine, except that it's going into an async context.
Okay. We do fully await on that async context.
Yes. That might not be yet where the problem. Well, there's typically there's like a real soundness problem, and there's like a few steps before that the borrow checker tends to stop you a few steps before that actual problem, right? Because it's
Okay.
not as omniscient. And what it says is it's not about the type. It's interesting that it says implementation of it is not general enough. Because it's executor. Where is executor? That's line 36, right? That's
Okay.
where we first get use an executor at all here.
Okay.
So, and the fact that the error refers to in the macro invocation in the call at the call site refers to something that happens within the function. That's interesting to me.
Okay, like, why is it not complaining here?
Right.
Mhm.
I think there's inference going on and affecting the signature of BorgDB.
Okay.
Can you show the same in the... Oh, you are showing the same on the right. But take a look on the right. Where is that? Line 44. What's going on there? What is... It's in the test util.
Yes. So this is the macro implementation, I guess. Test.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yeah. That's the macro we're using for each test.
Mhm.
Implementation of SQLX executor is not general enough. At that position... Oh, do you know what we got? Do you know what we got in Rust 186?
No, I do not.
I believe, if I remember correctly, we got async closures together with edition 2024.
Okay. And that's
Right? Like, what
we've done a
edition
lot of
is...
like weird like boxed stuff to work around the fact that we don't have async closures. Is that
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I have found that all to be incomprehensible.
What you're looking at here, right? Line 44.
There's
It's
this
a
dot
regular
boxed
closure.
thing.
Yeah. This is a closure that returns an async block that is
Okay.
boxed.
Hold on. This is the closure, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And it returns an async block
But
that is
only
then
after it's
boxed.
been boxed.
Hmm.
What we want is an async closure, and it probably wouldn't need to be boxed at all.
Okay.
And I'd love to make all those changes, but not in this branch because it's an unrelated change. We
Totally.
are currently not in this edition. If you
I'm
look at the Cargo
super
Tomo, what
sold.
edition are we?
I'm super sold. But can we
Cargo Tomo. Edition
2021.
2021. Yeah. But that's a tangent, right? Where I did not explain the error at all.
Sure. Yeah, and I'm super down to do that. That would be lovely. I'd love to verify it in this branch before we go do it in a separate branch. Like, because if that's not going to work, then that would be a bummer. It might be a good thing to do regardless.
I am so not grokking this area to tell you. I think there's many type problem simplifications that this async closure probably allows you to have.
So are you saying let's do that because it'll just make this easier to figure out, or maybe we'll just cause the problem
No,
to
I
evaporate?
would work around it in a different way currently.
Okay.
It talks here about some specific lifetime 0. Where is there? I think 0 means that it's been inferred. So I think, and many times I've seen it to be the case, that being explicit about a lifetime, declaring a lifetime, solves the problem because it ends up being different than the inferred lifetimes, because
Okay.
inferred lifetimes are many times end up being multiple different lifetimes, and what you want is actually to say this is the same lifetime as that reference. But
Sounds possible.
And I don't even know where. Like, I don't even understand why this is a span of the error. I think it's because of what this async, the contents of this async block get filled with the test implementation, right? See the $test.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And therefore, the type that this async block gets inferred as is different. And for that particular test, that type is but the location is not, it's not about the type of this async block. It is simply somewhere inside of it. Simply somewhere inside of it. It's in the expansion. That does not explain why it's not showing, the location is not $test. What does with this test context with?
Would this be easier to debug if we expanded the macro and then copy pasted the expanded macro?
Yes, I did that. I remember doing that.
Shall I do that?
Sure, gonna do that.
Okay, actually, or I'll rotate. And how about you? You can do
it. If I'm thinking so intensely, I'd rather.
You want me to stay at the helm? Sure.
Yes.
Okay. So I don't need to do a start. Okay. So here I'll do Rust LSP expand macro. And it's this thing, right?
Just copy paste it right above there, and you have to change the name so we don't have duplicate.
I was just gonna comment if that's okay.
Sure. There is a more.
Okay.
So you can see that it's the same span, right?
The red line, is that what you're referring to?
Yes.
Okay, I see
error
that
span
occupies.
Is the same.
Mm-hmm. That does look the same, yes.
Okay.
Oof.
So that
and then what's
whole
all this?
async
We didn't
block.
write this in our macro implementation. Or building the runtime. Yeah.
Well, the macros expand recursively, so that we used some macro. It's a macro that we used.
This Tokyo test macro. Got it. Okay.
Could be that, yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So what that Borg DB just commented out, and this should be fine, right? Yeah.
Doesn't like the mute, but otherwise doesn't like a number of things. But whatever. It's orange, not red.
Yeah. So that Borg DB, like you said, if we inline that function, that'll probably go away.
You want me to do that so we can see what happens?
What's what I'm sure. Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna delete this line of code. Didn't mean to leave that there, right?
Right.
Unrelated, but here we go.
Unrelated.
Yank and paste.
Give us some blank lines so we identify.
Some blank lines where?
Around that function.
Which function? There are
the
so
body
many.
of the what you just inlined.
Oh, okay. Sure. So that is, oops. So here's the commented out thing, and then that's the actual code.
Well, now we need
db mute. Ah, come on, db mute.
Right.
Okay, same error. Implementation of blah is not general enough, but, well, similar looking error, but it mentions more lifetimes now. Previously we had like 0, 0, and now it says 0, 1, 1. So it's slightly different, I guess.
Zero, 1, 1. Where are lifetimes even? Because this is all inside of a closure, and then there's an async move. Where are lifetimes even defined, and why is it 3 times? What is executor?
That's
It's
a
the
SQLX
argument
thing.
that it is sure. See, execute is where this all goes wrong. Execute takes an executor, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what are the bounds on that?
I see some apostrophes. Q, E, executor E, Q is.
On the impl there's lifetime Q, and that's the lifetime of the raw SQL.
Okay.
On the function, the method execute, there's a lifetime E.
Uh-huh.
Those are the 2 lifetimes that we have.
Yeah. And what's this mean? The lifetimes are related in some way?
Yes, one outlives the other.
Okay. Which one? Are you not sure?
Q lives as long at least as long as E.
Oh, okay.
So I think it's Q outlives E.
Okay. Sounds plausible.
And E, which is the executor, which is our offender, is of lifetime E.
Okay.
That means the Q, the raw SQL, must
Okay.
outlive the executor.
Interesting. Okay. Well, that's not how this code looks, right? Like it certainly looks like this raw SQL would not be guaranteed to outlive. Like if I extract this, do you think it'll behave differently?
Good try. Good thinking.
Hey, you have him just crashed. Wow. Oh
I
boy.
had a crash recently.
Any Vim users, like old school Vim users, would be so pleased with their decision not to use NeoVim right now. All these fancy LSPs and okay. Can I repro the issue? Trying to extract, no code actions available. I'm gonna wait to see if I get a repro here. Or I'm just not gonna get an LSP at all. Come on. Here we go. Come on. Extract into a variable. Is it gonna crash? It did not crash
Mm.
that time. Although it sure okay, that looks like it worked. Yeah, okay, so here we go. Okay. Nope, that didn't change anything.
Mm-hmm. Execute, how does it take self? Consume self.
I don't see self that
Yes.
as opposed to a reference to self.
Mm-hmm.
I see, so it can't outlive because this consumes it.
Well, it outlives inside the method, right? It gets moved inside the method. So they're in the same scope. They will. So we do not meet these bounds because of some inference that occurs. The raw SQL is trivial because it's created right here. And where do we get whatever we pass as the executor?
That's right here.
But that, no.
That's the executor, right? Amp mute.
We create a mutable reference right there.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. Okay, let's try creating the mutable reference before and then passing the mutable reference.
Okay, so extract this thing.
Yes, I might be just silly here, but I would give it a try. I really don't know if this would make any difference.
Okay.
Well, because it's a reference. The reference is, you see, sure. What is sure? Can you name that?
It's a connection, I believe.
It's the same. Yeah. It's well, sure. Yeah. And that's an owned thing. Future connection is owned.
Okay.
And then we go and borrow from it. And then for some, okay. You know, why are we passing a mutable reference at all? Can we just pass it owned?
Maybe like this.
Yeah.
Hey, that got rid of a lot of red. Not sure it helped at all. Maybe we've got more boring problems.
Maybe only a mutable reference implements executor. It says executor is not satisfied.
Yeah, got it.
The trait is not implemented for
But it
PG
is
connection, but
implemented
is
for
for
ref
mutable
mute.
reference.
Okay.
So all we need to do is to solve this is revert what we just did.
Sure. Yeah. So we went a step backwards.
Needs to be a ref mute. But then we get some at this point, I don't know that I have any control over these lifetimes. Because what we're doing seems quite straightforward. We're creating these two things are owned, and then we're creating a ref mute and passing it. It seems like the intended usage to me.
Yeah.
So it kind of seems like this is not us doing anything wrong. I can tell you, but what I can't tell you is, yeah, I cannot. I'm not. I think the only step forward in trying to understand this is to see why it works in a different context. What is different?
Yeah.
But that's a rabbit hole. That's a few more steps into this rabbit hole.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Rust was not intended to be. This is undesirable, right? It's not like in Rust you're supposed to find yourself in this situation and then do something obscure to solve it. That's not the intended usage. That's not the idea. And I think sometimes this happens because async is in the works, is work in progress.
Mm-hmm.
For example, the lack of async closures that was recently solved.
Got it.
And there's a chance that with an async closure we won't see this. I'm not saying that's the workaround we should use now. There might be another workaround we'd be able to use.
Yeah. Whatever you think is the most promising direction to go in.
Can I see well, so we have the function inline, and we have, I'm not sure how this can be simplified any further. My only direction is to get a different executor somehow. Something that implements executor, and it's not a ref mute connection. It's not a reference. It's some owned connection. Maybe we can take a look at the implementors of executor, or see other methods that raw SQL has.
Okay. So raw
Like
SQL.
work around the problem by looking for a different usage to do what we need.
Raw SQL.execute .fetch, which takes a. Well, what does execute take? Let's start there. Okay, that takes this like E, and oof, E as executor, lifetime E or something.
Yeah, we looked at this, right?
Yeah, I didn't remember it. Looks like fetch has the same thing.
I remember now. Yeah, they all execute, but they differ in what you get back, return
Right.
type.
I would not expect these to take different connections to the database.
What's SQL do?
That just gives you the SQL, like the string.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Not useful.
What does statement do? Ooh.
Yeah, this is probably like.
Okay.
Oof.
So at this point, I would try to see what other things implement executor, and I will be right back. Okay.
Okay. PG connection. So that's the one we're using. Compatibility. What is that? Dynamic dispatch? Anyways.
Yes. 11.8.
Hello.
Hey.
So here's the list of implementors. I didn't see anything juicy here. I mean, this is the one we're dealing with, is mute PG connection.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep. Okay. So what is different? Here's one idea I have is to wait.
so here's like a working scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's interesting. There's an asterisk there.
Uh-huh.
Try that.
Yeah.
Jesus. Oh my god, that's gonna be the difference.
Cannot be
Type.
there. It's a different type, is it?
Okay, so this is a ref mute connection right there, which is not what we're dealing with. We are dealing with a mute
Yep.
PG. Got it. Weird, because like here we have a ref mute. Then what would keep me from doing like this? Okay, well, nothing changes. Star connection. Yeah.
May I see again the working example of calling?
Yeah.
Is
So
it
that's on.
execute that we're calling?
Yeah. Execute with a different thing. This is like a query, not a raw query. but it probably takes the same type.
Show us.
Yeah. Executor E, executor C, database DB.
There are two. Obviously, there's one more lifetime here, but touch executor of lifetime C. What is this even the same executor? Because why
Same as what?
as the raw SQL?
So let me put them. So there's okay, go away. There's one on the left right there, and then on the okay, so we can comment that out. Go. Okay, and then one on the right.
It's no.
So one on the right, executor E equals
Do you see executor has two types? One lifetime,
yes.
and this one has a type argument.
This one does not.
Does it have a default? Is it a type alias? It cannot be a type. It's a trait. Can you go to that trait? Find the trait executor. See what's up with
Like
that.
this thing here.
Well, this is obviously not the same, right? There are two executors.
Jump it.
What is this?
This is from SQLX Core
Yeah.
executor.
Yeah. And the other?
Looking at the same code here.
Oh, hold on. But this doesn't. How did?
Yeah, I don't know.
No, hold on. Go to the left one and go back. This is an associated type. It is the same. Go in. Go. Yeah. It's a type database. Okay. Associated type. Okay. Yeah. So we have to find a different usage because I do not understand why there's an error.
I mean, all our other usages are in the store crate, and they're all dealing with these like prepared queries or whatever they're called. Just regular old queries. So I don't think any of the other examples are going to be interesting. In our code, we could go look at other code, I guess.
Cannot hear you as loud as I could earlier.
Okay. Possible though. Mike got moved. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think all the store queries are,
Okay. Now.
doing the exact same thing. They take a ref mute BG connection and then build one of these like typed query thingies. So I think if we want other examples, we're gonna have to go to other people's code.
Can you show me our implementation not expanded, please? You can have both and then just rename. Show me the error, please. Not of the macro, of the expanded version.
Here.
Executor of some lifetime would have to be implemented for the type refmute PG connection, but executor of lifetime 0 is actually implemented for the type ref of lifetime 0 mutes extension for some specific lifetime 0. It needs to be general, but it's for a specific lifetime. All these implementations that we have, they need to be general, but they are for a specific lifetime. Implementation is not general enough, would have to be implemented for the type for any lifetime 0, but as 1 is actually implemented for the type ref1 mute for some specific lifetime 1. Why are they specific? Why are the implementations specific and not general? Where are the implementations from at all? They are from the implementation of executor that, click that. It's impl of /c, executor of C for ref C mute PG connection database type Postgres. Can you click? I don't think it would matter. Click source on that. That's not it. That's it, yeah. So the lifetime of the executor, that's where we're getting is the lifetime of the executor is the same as the lifetime of the reference, that reference PG connection. So a PG connection reference, in order for it to implement executor, there are no, I'm sorry, I cannot continue that sentence. There's just one lifetime here, and it's shared between the reference and what is carried in the trait. This trait carries a lifetime.
Yeah.
So where do we get that lifetime from?
That's the lifetime of the ref mute PG connection, right?
This may be a problem with our get mute.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Or with,
I mean, I think the thing I'm confused about is blah would have to be implemented. Why? Why would this?
It's a more general. It's for any lifetime.
I see that, but why do we need an executor of any lifetime? Like, why is it not okay to have an executor for a specific lifetime? Like, what's requiring that?
That's in the method execute here.
So the method execute does not seem to be generic. Like it says, I'm okay with an executor with a specific lifetime.
Of lifetime E, and I need Q to outlive E.
Okay. So I just don't get how you get from this to I need a generic implementation. Like the error I would expect you'd get would be something like its lifetime is blah, which doesn't outlive blah, so, or does outlive blah, whatever. Like, why aren't we getting an error like that? Why is it saying I need a generic?
More general.
Yeah, why is it saying I need a more general one? Like,
Because we have some specific lifetime here.
Mhm.
We got it from one of these methods, either connection or dbmute. What does connection give us?
What does this thing right here?
Yes. Gets us an own thing, so that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And when we create that ref mute,
How would I like annotate this as having lifetime? Is that a thing you could do? It's like, is the issue that like this execute requires this to outlive this, and this has an unspecified lifetime? And so then saying, well, okay, the only way to match them is for the executor to also have an unspecified lifetime?
why does it even have a life? Maybe we need to say that this is static. Why does it even have a lifetime? This is owned. We just created this here.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I mean, it returns a thing that has this.
Because it takes the stir. You know what? Tell it it's static.
Yeah, I don't know what that means. How?
Yeah, just declare the type before the equal, before the assignment.
Or the equal, like colon static?
No, colon the raw SQL, just like the inlay hint shows you.
So like type raw SQL?
Yeah, raw SQL.
Static?
And it's a single quote static. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, well, goes that theory. So Q is the lifetime of the raw SQL, which is static. That's saying this must outlive this.
I think there's something wrong with this. What does raw SQL take? The constructor?
Fster.
And where does the lifetime come from? Why does it even have a lifetime?
Don't ask me, man.
Because the only reference coming in is that stir, right? So
Okay.
I am sure that's where that's the lifetime. Like it can borrow that stir. Okay, now the lifetime is static. Because that's not erroring.
Okay.
And now static outlives anything.
I don't know what static means.
This is a literal string. It ends up as a stir as a ref stir that has a static lifetime because it's compiled into
because these bytes actually end up in the elf. binary.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so I got that. But then, like, the massaging of those bytes into some other data structure, that's not going to live in the elf binary. That's going to happen at runtime, right?
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't
But
seem like...
it doesn't massage them. It massages them lazily. It stores the stir.
We
That's
can
why it
picture
has a
the
lifetime.
stir getting packed as bytes into the final elf binary. But this, like, raw SQL type, are you saying that's also at compile time getting stuck in?
No, I'm saying the reason that raw SQL has a lifetime is because it has a field in which it stores this argument, this
Okay,
stir.
got it. Yes.
And the method on it, execute, takes raw SQL as, if you could show the signature again. It takes, you see it Q is the lifetime of raw SQL, and now it is static. So it says static must outlive E. Well, you know what? It does. So that's not the problem. The problem is E itself here, the executor.
And that
Let's
makes
try
sense, right? Because
defining.
if we were seeing, if we had an issue about one lifetime not being longer than the other, you'd expect the compiler to say something a little more clear, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Let's try defining the lifetime of the executor. Yeah.
That would be ref mute EG connection.
I think you can do that on the ref mute when you construct. Like, can you say
Ref mute.
this ref? Yeah, amp of lifetime underscore. I don't even know that's a thing. No, I can't do that apparently. So let's try the type, but I don't know where to obtain that lifetime. Maybe the closure, like this is a block, and I think that's exactly where. Sorry, I don't want to jump too much ahead. Yeah, you're doing the right thing, but now try like
Where would I
the amp
annotate?
after the amp, the and it won't be static, right? Because it is not static.
Sure. I just want to see that error.
Sure. Okay.
Connection does not live long enough. Okay. Reasonable? Sure.
It's not static. Try underscore. Yeah. It'll probably tell you, hey, you can't do that. You need to be decisive. What are you trying to? No, or lets you do that, and it keeps inferring. So this is a no change. Okay. Now, if we wanted to have a name for that lifetime, then we'd have to declare a lifetime somewhere, right?
Okay.
And that in a static function, sorry, not static, in a normal function, you can declare lifetimes, and then you can use them in the function. But
not in blocks, but in functions.
Right, in blocks, I don't think you can declare lifetimes. And this is an async move block. It's a block.
Yeah, we're like in a block inside of a closure inside of a another block closure thingy. Well, block and then function. It's a whole mess.
Yes, and I think so. We could try at the first closure, line 45. We could try just before the closure syntax adding something like the keyword for. Does that work?
I don't know
For
where to put this.
just before the closure.
Like, I
The pipe, before the first pipe.
okay,
Yeah.
great. For
For open angle. Is that how it works? Yeah, and then declare lifetime A. Close it. See whether this is anything. What's going on here?
listed types, enclosure signatures are forbidden when for is present. For binders for closures are experimental.
There's another reason why we can't do this, but this might have solved the problem because it would have maybe given us a way to declare its lifetime. So practically, I suggest that we don't have a test for this.
Okay.
For this one, we have a test for other ones. So, and it follows the pattern, so it's probably fine.
Yep.
And when we bump the addition later on, we will probably do a refactor here with all these closure blocks.
Okay.
And then see whether we could add this test back.
Yeah, I mean, if we do things in that order, I'm not going to remember to come back and add that test, which is fine. Like, I can also live without this tested.
Throw an issue in.
Okay. So what is this issue for? It's for adding, bumping the addition, or for
test body, or not just the bodies, right? Because we're testing the test landed error variant.
there's one particular one that's not tested, right?
In main, none of them are tested.
Okay. Sure. Test bodies. I think one of them is tested.
It's not just the bodies. It's bodies and the status code, so it's pretty much everything. Landed error variants.
Okay.
I'm sorry I didn't get us farther, and I wish I knew more Rust, but this is kind of the nature of the beast here. Rust is deep, and you can get very far, but sometimes
Mhm.
I fall flat on my face.
Yeah. Well,
I think I got like places, right? Like I pretty sure, like I don't know if Roland would have, figured out how to work around this.
yeah. I mean, my takeaway from all this is just like async programming in Rust is just not very fun. It's like Rust has some cool concepts that are like very rough in the async world. And I felt
Yes,
that
but
way
you're
about
talking.
this for, ever since we started throwing these boxed things around. I still don't know what a box is, so like, maybe it will be less scary to me when I know what a box is.
But that was 3 years ago.
Yep.
Let's give edition 2024 a chance.
Sure.
So, do you want to rotate? You've done enough editing.
Do I have
We will
anything
clean this
useful
up.
here? Okay, I'm just gonna discard these
Yeah,
changes.
I support that. I think this is just playing around, right?
Take it away, sir.
With pleasure. Where are we? Load. So, what do we got here? We got this this. We kind of want to have this. Do you want us to just comment this out and say, hey, this is exactly the test we want to have, but it's not working?
I'm fine with commenting it and linking to the issue we just created. I think we could inline the bork DB. The only reason we outlined it, it's the opposite of inlining. Externalized it was because we were trying to debug the types. And if you could delete that kill DB line. On line 29.
So this belongs together.
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably just inline it. Like, we don't need it as a separate function, right? That was just
I
for us to
wouldn't bother
do
at this point. Just get it over with.
Okay, that's fine too.
GitHub issue. View. GitHub issue 241 view web. No. Issue view 241 web. Just grab this, put it here.
Cool. And then can you delete the conflict markers just so that it doesn't confuse me?
Conflict marker.
Great. Love it.
Okay, out of the rabbit hole and into the claws of the raven.
Let's see.
I think ravens prey on rabbits.
So
I think
we
they
should.
might.
Do we want to actually fix the bug though? Like, we haven't actually implemented the fix.
Yes. Error. Sorry. Right?
Yep.
This one. Okay,
That's
let's
the
implement
ticket.
this blind. Plain text string.
I mean, if we
Break
really
somewhere.
wanted to not be blind, we could manually test this, but I do not feel the need to.
I do not feel the need to. Quite confident it'll work just the same as the others. And this perhaps? No, that's not man. Construct a tuple. And
Plain
this would
text
be
string
the
from.
string. String from. Sorry. Error is what we got. Sorry. Error sorry. Error dot sorry. More. Problem. Try wrapping
We need a
in.
plain text.
You know, this is code actions. It's not where we get the fixes. Oh, location problem. Okay.
Lovely. Okay, I think we're passing tests and lints.
Yes.
Good. Look at the full diff. We could do an
Look at
exploit
full
check.
diff. Exploit check. Okay. So this is cargo test. And it takes a long time. Just nexting this for. So next like check. Get me another terminal. Let's close all these things. And git diff open API. So these are new packages we have in cargo log. I think it'll be many.
Yeah,
Many.
just dependencies of home open API. I guess we also updated
Not that many.
home.
Not that many. See, we got through them.
Cool.
Got through them. Okay. Cargo log ends here. Cargo tone.
Great.
Go POM open API.
with Swagger. Makes sense.
Yeah. Some imports we have here. Docs path, health check path. We've removed that for some reason and not reused. Health check. Let me grab for health check. So here is, we said we cannot even use it. That's why I removed it. And it is used to search just once. I don't see it anywhere. Okay, so that's fine.
Cool.
Docs path is currently used. This handler, what file are we in? API source slave, that makes sense. Sorry, this handler is returns a redirect and see other docs path. That's the index. Const API prefix. API. Let API service open API service new API. Env cargo package name. Cargo package name. Yeah, if a user cares to customize this, we could try to accommodate, but for now this is fine, right?
Absolutely.
And the version is the version of our software, not of whatever the user is using it for.
Not of whatever the user is using it for.
Right.
Not sure I understand.
This results in documentation of a service, of an API that the user provides their users.
Uh-huh.
And that version is inherited from the software that they use, our software. Right?
Yes.
So I just wanted to make that explicit.
Okay.
URL prefix. It's the API prefix.
Yep.
Make a new route builder, and then the health check path is now inside the API service. It's part of the API. So that's not here anymore. And instead of doing this at API v1 with parameter poem get some landed, we have this, which encapsulates a few things. And
Yes.
docs path is also a new thing, but it's not part of the API. And the JSON is also not part of the API.
Yes.
So they're here, but they're both obtained from this full service convenience struct. Now we have a new struct. And we kind of have we have a bit of a match. Oh, I think we should be we should be reverting.
Yes. I agree.
Problem here. So let's go do that. I will rotate. I am rotated.
Great.
This is still, it's probably about to finish. It's running the tests, whatever. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. This thing right here used to look like
Timer. Thank you.
this website always breaks on us, doesn't it? Okay. No.
There are refactorings to inline instead of it's like the opposite. So you could like do that carefully.
Okay. But give me some actions. No code actions available. It doesn't want to give me anything to do. Do I have to go
On a
here?
binding, you can.
No code actions available.
Is there a problem?
I've got a code action here. But not
Okay,
here.
then do it manually.
So what's wrong with this line?
Because it doesn't have the map error.
Okay. That
So I
was
think we should
not
probably.
necessary before, but is now. Right. Okay. Because previously, what did this thing return? This thing returned it a landed error directly. And then we told Poem how to handle landed errors. But now we're.
I think it can still do that. I think we can revert that. This could be a landed error.
Oh, yeah. Well, that would be nice.
I think that does not need to change because it implements API response, which in turn implements response.
Okay. So you think we can just do that?
Show us the changes then.
Oh, did I forget to mob start? Okay, hold on. Let me do a get stash, mob start, get stash pop, or go test. Okay. This can go away, I guess. Then you want to see the get diff open API?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, here we are. So landed now looks pretty similar. Got that landed error. Okay, test still passed. That's good.
Can we
Branches
diff
landing.
fastic? Good.
Oh, sure.
Oh, nice. Okay. All right. I can see that there's.
API circle. This is the relevant.
Yeah. This
Landed.
minimizes the changes, the
Sure.
differences observed.
Yep. Okay. So
Pretty cool.
it seems reasonable. Health check has some new annotations and explicitly returns a plain text, but it seems fine. Type on branch. That's to teach OpenAPI about it, I guess. Seems reasonable. Same thing with landed in. There are status codes now. And then they have these. So there's the strings from before, which now live here and here and all seem reasonable to me. Health check path disappears. That's satisfying because now we have a home page. That's the dead code thing we banged our head against for a little bit.
Pause.
Yes.
Okay. This value represents a running DB even if the field is not used. Okay. A new what is that? What is that added test? What is that
This is
added test
surprising
macro?
to me.
What's going
So
on
I was
here?
about to say that. Like we did this in this branch? I thought we created the macro. It seems like something we would have done before.
Is that just an extra file that exists that kind of duplicated itself somewhere?
I don't know. I mean, Greats API test util.rs. I don't know why
I
the
guess
name
we
shows up
created
twice.
this macro here
Okay.
in this branch. And here are 3 usages of this macro, right?
Yep, these are reasonable. We added these endpoints in this branch.
So we have existing.
Okay, so we
We
extracted the
moved
macro
it
to a
from
shared
here.
place. Okay, totally
Yeah,
reasonable.
okay.
Totally justified. We added a test. We tried to add another test. Failed. That's it. Done.
Okay, let's now start the demo server and take a look at what we got in the documentation. Take a good look at that.
That's fish. There we go. Okay. Util run API. If I do a mob next, could you do a flake check?
Yes.
Thank you. Save my poor CPU.
Well, should we rotate? In any case.
Well, I'm waiting for the server to start up, so then we can rotate once we've verified that.
Okay.
Otherwise, I'm just useless compilation effort.
Next, check. Okay.
Okay.
Turn my camera back on.
Server started running. Yay! Okay, so the home page just redirects to API docs. Kind of hard to see, but to prove it, when you go to slash, it gives a 303 to slash API docs.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's like curl's like actually generating the right link there for my terminal. Wow, that's very slick.
Why is it a see other? Why is it not temporary redirect? Maybe in the future we will not redirect. Maybe we'll do something different.
We read up on the difference
The
between the
temp.
two. There are 4 types of redirects: 2 temporary and 2 permanent.
Mm-hmm.
And we decided we wanted a temporary. And then the decision was about like there's this older one that like unconditionally does a get, and the other one
Fine by me.
preserves the verb or something.
Fine by me.
So we talked about it. I don't remember which one's which. I think the old one always does a get, and the new one preserves the verb. But since people are doing a get to the homepage, it's kind of a meaningless distinction.
Right.
Okay. What do you want to look at? This stuff?
Oh, I do remember something I wasn't completely happy about, but I think it's not related to this branch. It was this 404 as a status code for in APIs for like,
Yes.
yeah, I know what you mean, but does not exist. Would be the same status code as I don't know what you mean.
Yeah. That's why your API should return like a body that is meaningful.
Why solve it with a body? Why not a different status code? These are 2 different things.
I I don't think HTTP has different status codes for those two different things.
Mhm.
Like, we could choose to return a 200 to say, like, hey, everything went okay here. But, like, it just depends on what our REST philosophy is. And I am not a REST zealot in any.
Could be a bad request. We don't. There is no such PR. Why would you invent a PR that doesn't exist? You're supposed to know what PRs exist. You're not supposed
Sure.
to be asking about PRs that don't exist.
Sure. Yeah.
But as I
like a
said,
negative
this is
number.
not for this branch.
That's fair. Yeah.
So maybe an issue to consider. Reconsider this.
Yeah. Yeah. I do think that, like, the common API pattern is to return a 404, but then to, like, also have a JSON body that the client is expected to, like, do something with. And if it doesn't get a JSON back or something, then that'll cause the error. So that if you typo the URL, you don't accidentally think the PR doesn't exist. The code crashes.
That's what we have at the moment. We don't give out JSON if it's a real 404.
Yeah. So we haven't written any clients. So it's like, but yeah, because we're not returning JSON, it's not like the clients would do anything with the return with the body. So, like, yeah, with what we have right now, people are very likely to be burned by, like, just typoing the damn API endpoint, which is pretty frustrating. Reconsider returning 404s when querying for PRs that do not exist. Right now, you get a 404 if you typo the API URL, my bad path, and you also get a 4. Yeah, that just. Okay, I read a Stack Overflow about this. Stack Overflow 404 API.
Are you going to?
Bad URI or missing resources. I'm just going to link to that here.
Hmm.
You don't have to get into that right now. I just remembered it existed and I didn't want to look for it again. Okay, back to this.
Sure.
I'll check. Try it out. Execute. Here's your 200. Look at that. It works. Then if I -1, get a bad request.
Yeah. Nice.
And yeah, I could see the argument that, like, this is an invalid PR number, so it's not a 404, so we could say the same thing about PRs that truly don't exist. Whereas right now, if we say, like, blah, 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 we get a 404 and an explicit pull request not found. Which, at least for a human testing out the API, they can see the difference between that and not found. Plus, I guess we have this nice little UI. So yeah, I don't know. Seems to work. Landed in branches. This is a weird thing. Branches is an array of string. Is that right?
Is there a way to make this more declarative? No, it's not. It's not an array of an array. It's just an array of string. It's just the value in its entirety collapses.
Okay, this sure as hell looks like an array of arrays.
It does. It does, but it just means collapsed, value not shown. Sorry.
Good God. What a terrible UI. I'm sorry for any people who've worked hard on Swagger. I'm not saying I could do a better job, but I'm not impressed by this either.
Well, it's yeah. Oh, but you saying that the entirety of it is the cumulatively terrible? Is that little piece terrible?
There's a lot about this that I'm not in love with. Like this right here being disabled and like I gotta click try out and then it's like
Yeah, it's like
I
a
don't
why,
know.
why?
Or it's like, okay, let's try this one out. Okay, now I gotta click execute. And there's just like a lot on the screen, but I don't know. I'm not saying I'd know a better way to design this thing, but
Mm-hmm.
probably
Well, at this point, since it gives us the library gives us several of these, switching them out is trivial. Good.
sure. Yeah, like maybe the Swagger UI is actually not the nicest one. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I remember we like explored a few, or at least two, and we landed on this one.
Mm-hmm.
So the other one was even worse for some reason. I'm happy to not reopen
We could
that
always,
can of
if
worms.
our users ask us, "Hey, why does using Swagger? Let's do something else." Then we could examine it again.
Sure. Yeah. If somebody shows up saying, "Hey, this other thing's much nicer. Why aren't you using that?"
They'll say,
Then we
"Hey,
will
don't you
have,
know no one likes Swagger?"
yeah, and we'll be like, "Oh, thank you. We learned a thing. Appreciate it. Thanks for saying that in such a nice way." Um. So yeah, I'm happy.
Wow, that took a long time. Let's what remains to be done. I think we reviewed everything.
Yep.
And we have a JSON. Can you bring up the JSON?
How did Nick's Flake check go?
It checked out.
Good. Oh, hey, I probably shouldn't stop the API if I want to query. There we go.
What is server's empty list? What is that?
I don't know, some open API thing. Servers. In OpenAPI, you use the servers array to specify one or more base URLs for your API.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess like in the context of the Swagger UI, the base URL is deduced from the like URL that you browsed to. But if you were to like download this JSON to your computer, then all of a sudden you don't actually know how to make API calls, right? Like there's no host name or port or anything here.
Yeah. Feels like we should allow the user to specify this.
I mean, I think ideally, right, this is like a common thing is web servers should have some generic mechanism, like Rocket should have some generic mechanism. No, not Rocket, sorry, Poem should have some mechanism for saying, hey, this is your like public URL, right? So we should ideally be able to pull that out of Poem and embed that in here. And then separately, yeah, we need to give users a mechanism to configure that thing for Poem.
Can we see the set of options that we have currently?
Sure. That's what, like settings or something? I don't know what this is.
We have docs. We have docs. You can do Nix build. The docs.
Exhaust main program docs.
Program docs.
Okay, let's see what we got. Oh, I have to compile all this in the sandbox. Probably would be faster for you to do. How about we rotate?
I just ran expect check, so there's no up.
Yeah.
Huge
Could
result.
you share screen, please?
That would be beneficial. Setting collection. No, I fell for that once. This is PR tracker, PR API config. That should do it. Environment. Look at that. Wait, no, that's database.
That's
I read
database.
base URL. That's all the API takes.
So we have not given people a mechanism for telling the server what its name is. And that's because it hasn't needed to know its own name, its own public URL.
Yeah, but now it reports it.
Well, it doesn't if we return an empty array, but yeah, I suppose ideally we would. And we could get out, we could avoid actually adding a new piece of config, right? We could deduce this from.
How's that?
So the server is generating this JSON on the fly, right? It's not like some compiled. I mean, maybe it is. I guess I don't actually know how it's implemented. But like,
Deduce it from the request.
yeah, there's the HTTP host header. So like, however the user got to this thing, we should be able to deduce it from the host header. So I suppose it's possible that POEM OpenAPI implements this entirely at compile time.
Compile time? Oh, it's possible.
And then if
Compile
we really
time.
wanted to, I suppose we could probably like at runtime parse the JSON and mutate the JSON like it's a well-known shape of JSON. But at that point, maybe the simplest thing to do is to just force our users to specify this thing.
Well, do you think so? The derive is here, right? It should all be in this derive, right? Or am I taking it too far?
What are we looking for? Like how to configure the JSON
Yes.
response, I guess.
Here, open API. This is for an API. It might not be because there could be multiple APIs, right? Like how does a structured API? An API is used in an open API service. Open API service does not take more things, but it can be configured
Okay.
with this.
So probably you could add like a base URL or something. Or server. Yep. So that is not going to work for us at runtime. Impl into server object. Actually, that's not a flat string. How complicated is that server object?
Into server. It's not here though.
Okay.
Is it server object? I don't. Here is this, right?
Yep.
It's not searchable.
Object representing a server. Description. Create a server object by URL.
It's strong.
It's like a pair of things. It's a URL plus a description. Like this is our North America server. This is our Europe server or something.
I suppose. And it has from T. If T is into string, so it's a convenience for just here's a string.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think if we want to do it at runtime, it's going to require some massaging. In my opinion, it's a little surprising to me that POEM OpenAPI, given that it's part of the POEM ecosystem, isn't just asking POEM, the server, the web server framework, what the URL is. Like,
PR welcome, you know?
Yeah.
The community is not, the user base is not that big.
Mm-hmm.
There are more popular traits than POEM.
Does POEM itself have a mechanism for configuring the server name? Like, so that you can teach POEM when it's behind a reverse HTTP proxy, what the user-facing URL is? I don't even know what we'd search for to answer that question.
Axiom. Here's a Axiom. This is 5 years ago. So. Anyway, you wanted to know?
I don't have any good questions. I mean, I think the thing, I'd be fine with not filling this in. People are gonna like, if they get this JSON, they can look at the damn URL. But if we really want to fill it in, I'm
okay if you think we can get away with it and no one would, you know, if someone would complain, we could always add.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm okay skipping it.
Okay. So,
and I would rather put time into making it not necessary for us to write any code, i.e., you know, sending a PR to POEM or POEM OpenAPI.
And so other than servers, there's nothing interesting there in that.
Well, I guess you're about to pull it up, but there's tags. I don't know what that is.
No.
The version number is like moderately interesting because it's the version number of PR Tracker API, which like you could imagine changes to PR Tracker that change the version number of PR Tracker but don't actually affect the OpenAPI API at all.
Mm-hmm.
I do not want to maintain a separate version number for our REST API, so I'm fine with that.
Yeah, this should be user driven, you know?
Yep.
If users complain, we can give them...
Yeah. So I'm fine with that. And then the rest of this just sort of looks like the API and the nouns.
What? I do have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Shouldn't this like be some kind of a named thing instead of just string?
Sure.
This is named. So this is a property.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if you can have like named primitive types. Seems like it should be possible, right?
With a new type.
Wait, no, I think it's already named.
What's
the thing that's named is branches. Branches is an array of string.
It's a property. Should be an array of branch that
I see.
holds string.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
You know where that is? Like, it's all landed in, right? This thing. But in Rustland, it is a branch.
Mhm.
And a branch is a new type already. So I think we like did everything we could.
Maybe.
This is an object, and this is a new type.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Is this a poem OpenAPI bug, or is this just like a limitation of the
Maybe
OpenAPI
this is the
spec?
design. Let's see where object and new type live. Is there anything else? Object. And this modules types, new type. These are derived macros. Maybe new type can take some rename.
Okay.
From JSON from parameter to JSON to header external doc. Example rename.
Macro
And
parameters. Sure.
rename.
Give it a shot. Rename equals branch.
Oh, don't run. Where would that be?
I don't know. What are macro parameters?
I think it'll be something like this.
So we would use that on pub string. Oh, we do it here. Okay.
Just the fact that this is not the default is making me think that this is not like what's typically the case. Landed in branches. String.
So compiled.
Yeah, but maybe branches string. That's an example though. Where is the darn the type or what's returned schema
Yeah, there it is.
string? I don't think this did anything,
Yep,
for us here.
I agree.
Okay, let's leave it.
I mean, we could dip the JSON before and after, but I don't think.
You wanna ship?
Let's do it. And call it a night. Excited
Mob
to have this PR
done.
finally done. Jeez.
Commits.
We switched web frameworks for this PR.
Feet. No breaking change here. Open API. With Swagger UI. There's no breaking change, is there? We didn't require any more input from the user. This just works.
I think so.
Okay. And this is a reasonable commit message, right?
Open API with Swagger UI. Love it.
What about some documentation about where the JSON can be found.
Oh, isn't there an issue we can mark done? You could potentially reference that in the commit message if you want.
Sure. Let's do that. Git commit.
And sorry, what was your question? Isn't there something?
Some documentation about this that we could write. Should write. How early is this Open API?
Document the HTTP API.
180 days. Yeah, like in the README, in the docs, and somewhere we should be right. We should be documenting this, right?
Yeah, it's kind of weird because what would the doc say? It would say like, hey, if you want to know what the API is, run our server, and then browse to wherever.
If you want to know what the... This is for our users, not the users of our users.
Yeah.
So we just want to let them know. This provides an open, like just the fact that it provides this feature, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So under here,
Sure.
PR Tracker API provides an open API spec. What is it called?
I think so. I don't know. API spec.
Specification.
Sure.
It provide to do we even like, does the Swagger UI show you where the JSON is?
I don't know.
Menu run me until how did I get here? What just happened? Oh no, I don't think so.
I would say something like I'd do like a bullet point of like a few routes worth knowing / openapi.json where the OpenAPI spec is, and the home page redirects to, or we could just say, yeah, something like that. / docs or whatever. Yeah, I'm also okay with like not. Yeah, this sounds good. Yep. And yeah, maybe it's obvious from the name what openapi.json is.
Mm-hmm.
If we wanted to put something before that, we could, but I also think this is fine.
Yeah.
Nice and terse.
Add command right now, no edits, and git push. Now we could make a PR. We could push this to main.
If you've run next flag check, I am happy with just pushing straight to main.
Check. Well, now the README is changed, so I don't know how good our filtering is.
So README do anything? I can't remember.
It is completely filtered.
Wonderful.
So switch main.
Good job, team.
Branch. show current, merge, I think, and git push delete origin. Yeah.
Oop,
Already
failed
on
to
branch
push.
main. Switch. I need to do this from. That's it. It's out
Love it.
there.
Wonderful. Feels good, man. I will do a next flake update right now.
Do we have anything more for our patient viewers?
Look forward to us finally working on something different next time.
I think I would like this to be deployed. That's what I would like us to work on.
Well, next time let's look through our issue tracker, and we also have our like
Edition.
N-year
Stop the
plan
edition.
in the README.
Right,
The
right.
addition thing could be fun, but I don't think it.
Provides value.
Yeah, I mean that's a. Write it down because I don't think it's written down anywhere. If you want to talk about it, or just remember it.
It's okay. It should be motivated by us trying to do something and then saying, "Hey, this looks like old Rust. Let's make it
Sure.
newer."
Yeah, totally.
All right. So I will stop the recording. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. And even sponsor. Why don't you go and sponsor? Even sponsor. Till next time, be well.
Bye.